The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
To the Epic Love Show, episode 106, featuring a very special guest this evening, Dan Shaikh, social entrepreneur and public speaker and founder of Speaker Slam. He'll be coming up in just a few minutes. Stick around. I'm your host, Travis Suit, and I believe one of the most valuable gifts that you can give yourself is love. And I'm here to share inspiring stories of love through action and show how persevering through adversity and sharing that with the world, your hero's journey, and bringing those dark aspects of life, those tests, those challenges, bringing those into our field of awareness, bringing them into the light is so powerful. And your journey to become inspired starts right now. So thank you for tuning in. The Epic Love Show is brought to you by the Piper's Angels Foundation for Cystic Fibrosis. You can learn more about our mission and our impact at pipersangels.org. And hey, we are live each week right here on Facebook. So thank you to all of our Facebook fans and community for tuning in each week. We're also live on YouTube. So if you haven't already, please go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. And we are available for playback on iHeartRadio, Pandora, and Spotify. And as always, I want to give a big shout out to all of our amazing listeners, our epic lovers, to my mom, my family, all those folks out there who tune in every week and really care about the message that we're bringing to the world. And we want to promote the positive, people. Let's bring the good stuff out. And here's the thing. The good stuff comes out of the bad. So it's an invariable relationship. You got the yin and the yang and the dark and the light. And so we're here to share how we take that dark and we turn it into light. As always, joining me in studio is the one and the only Jason, the epic jokester.
You have the gift of love. Mine's the gift of laughter. So let's talk about my week, because it was pretty weird. I went through I went through a couple of job searches. So I was working at a soda factory. I had to quit that job. I was crushing cans. It was so depressing.
Oh man, I love that one.
So then I went to try to become a comedian, and I tried a vampire joke, but it was in vain. So maybe next time.
Well, good luck with that. You know, I think you'd be a great comedian, Jason.
You do?
I do.
I don't know. I steal everybody else's jokes, so is that really?
But you find some great ones.
Yeah.
And I bet you if you came up with your own, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd probably steal the hearts out of everybody there.
You'd cut them right out.
Yeah.
You steal my heart every show.
I gotta work at the Monsters Inc., like the Laugh Shack over at Disney, and just come up with my own stuff.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, this week's featured guest is Dan Shaikh. Dan is the co-founder of Speaker Slam, Canada's largest inspirational speaking competition, with sold-out crowds monthly and attracting a stellar lineup of speakers and professional judges. He is also the co-creator of the Emerging Speakers Program, a training program for inspirational speakers who need help finding their voice and monetizing it. Dan is committed to helping speakers build their brand and achieve success with powerful videos. Recent speakers have gone on to TEDx talks, paid speaking engagements, viral videos which have been seen by millions, and Speaker Slam videos have accrued over 350 million views across their partnership channels. Dan's greatest passion in life mission is to give a voice to the voiceless and bring light to shame. Welcome, Dan, to the Epic Love Show.
Travis, thank you so much for having me. I love the concept of this show, and when I saw it, I was like, I need to get in touch with Travis, and thank you so much for having me.
Dan, let's be frank. It was the jokes.
The jokes attracted me.
All right, see, that was it. I knew it.
The remarkability of them has traveled far and wide already. No, I'll tell you what, Dan, when you reached out and I started looking into what you're doing, I was really impressed, really excited to have you on the show. And then once we talked and I heard your story and really heard what you're doing to help others, I was so moved. And I've been, my energy, the butterflies have been going, being ready to have this show tonight and be able to share your story. So thank you for coming on the Epic Love Show. It's a huge honor.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you talk about bringing the light to shame. So that's really powerful. And I've actually never heard it put that way before. So what in your life, if you take us back, what began the awareness of what that means and how you have brought that gift now to the world? Where did that start for you?
For sure. For me, I've lived through shame, and for me, that shame haunted me and like silenced me for such a long time. And for the viewers at home, I don't really generally talk about this story as publicly as I should be, but I want to share it on your show. So when I was going through puberty, something went wrong, and what went wrong was I developed breasts, and anyone at home can imagine that was one of the most shameful things I had to go as a teen boy. Medically, the condition is called gynecomastia, and affects almost 20% of boys growing up. But a lot of people don't want to talk about it because it is such a stigmatized, joked about topic. And for me, growing up, I basically had body dysmorphia. And I just couldn't stop thinking about my chest. Ways how I could hide it. I know going into high school gym class, oh my God, I did not want to be seen at all. That was like a nightmare for me. I would like tape down my chest and like every night have to rip it off. And it was like the worst. I remember getting severely bullied for it. And I just retreated. I was like, I need to hide. No one can know about this. How can I hide? And every day was a struggle for me of like how am I hiding? How can I wear clothes that are baggy enough? And these moments were trauma, and it's a moment. And only after years after I moved from past that did I realize that at that moment, all I knew, I needed to hide. And so shame brewed in that moment.
And what time frame of your life was that from, age-wise?
I would say it started happening around age 12, or grade 7 was when I first started seeing it. I remember just gym class and like people like just commenting, "Hey, like nice tits," like, and I was just like, "Oh God, what's happening?" I just thought I was a little like chubby, but like, and then it just got worse and worse, and that carried on up until I was 25, until like I started getting into personal development. And that's where my lens kind of opened.
Right. And were there people along the way at that point in your life that, were supportive of you, and were kind of in your rock, were in your corner?
Honestly, when you suffer from shame, at least for me, this is my experience. I did not want to talk to anyone about it. My family couldn't know, and I was teased at home, but obviously I didn't want, I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't want to show weakness. I didn't want to talk about it. I evaded the topic. If someone brought it up, I would just freeze up and I'd be like, oh, I need to get out. So I never wanted to even confront the topic itself. It was just like, leave me alone. I'm on like, so literally I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. And that one personal development course that I did go to was the first time I ever opened up. I didn't even know about vulnerability and the power of it. I just saw me talking about it was a weakness.
Wow. And so when you went into that personal development course, what what were some of the cornerstones of that, or the pillars that really, became strong aspects to start to build from?
So the course that I took, all of it talked about removing your limiting beliefs. And I remember when I showed up, I wasn't sure, right? But like everyone was so hyped up about the course. And so when I went into it, people started sharing their stories, things that I've never heard before, like vulnerable stories about themselves, what's happening with their lives. And like people talking about like having affairs, or people talking about like having seen their dad being shot or whatever. And it was real stories from real people who were hurting from those experiences and the shame they felt. And as I sat in the crowd, I was like, oh my God, like, but again, I was unwilling to go up and share what was being shared because all their experiences had happened in the past. I was still living with my, I guess, my experience. And I was like, I did not want to out myself. I did not want anyone to like start staring at me and comment. And I remember this woman I turned to, I was like, I'm not getting what I want from this program. And she's like, what is it? What are you trying to like? And so I finally opened up, and this is for the first time I've again, I've never talked about it, but this woman made me feel safe. And I literally erupted with years of emotion, just like trapped inside of me. And I shared, I was suffering from this condition. I've been in shame for such a long time. Like, and I just felt powerless for such a long time. And that was the moment, as I shared with another human being, I saw that she started crying. And in that moment, she didn't make fun of me the way I thought it was all going to play out. Instead, she held space. She then shared her own experience that was triggered by what I just said. And she shared another shameful thing that she never thought about, but it like just came out for her. And in that moment of like our shared pain, what happened for me was this realization, like my lens kind of just opened up, and I realized I was living with a victim's mindset. And that was like huge for me, because the lens that I've been viewing the world, it was very limited to the shame. And that program kind of allowed me, the experience of just sharing allowed me to start the healing process.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm super proud of you. And I know Michelle also commented that she's so proud of you for sharing. And we've got some viewers tuned in. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in for the show here. And thank you, Dan, for sharing. I mean, I can't imagine the pressure that put on you in that place. And, I guess so. I'm curious, what would you say to somebody out there who may be watching or listening to this show, who may be in the experience right now?
It gets better. There's a reason why you're going through this potential thing. You gotta just be open to talking about it and getting help. There is a surgery. Lucky for me, at that time, like I had done the research in my 20s to find out about the surgery, but I just couldn't afford it. And one thing I gotta say is take out a loan, do whatever it takes, get the surgery. Because when I got that surgery, oh my God, my confidence just skyrocketed. And I had moments that showed that, like the surgery, let's say it was $8,000. And after the surgery, I had the new sense of confidence. I went up to my boss a month later and I was like, hey, I'm being underpaid. I showed him the industry average and I got a $10,000 raise. And I was just blown away, like paid for itself. And then 4 months later, I started Speaker Slam. I went from a guy who didn't have a voice to a guy who now gives people a voice.
Wow. Yeah. So that's, it's really interesting that you had it contained and bottled up for so long and so many years. And isn't it interesting that, now that you've uncorked, like the energy, I mean, every time I talk to you, I can feel it. I get so excited because I talk to a lot of people, and I've got to tell you, you're rare. You're super rare, because the way you have, we talked about this on our first call, but the way you have taken the challenges and the tests and you've learned the lesson, and it may have taken you a while to get the lesson, but once you got it, you immediately took the gifts from it and began sharing it with the world. And that's magic. That's a miracle to me, when people they don't just learn the lesson, but then they bring their heart and soul and light and their gifts to the world. That's so powerful. Bob just commented, he said, I can relate to the feelings of shame, Dan. By sharing and being vulnerable gives other courage to move forward in their healing. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Well, and so, okay, so you started sharing at this event, and then it starts transpiring. Where was like the lightning strike of inspiration for Speaker Slam, where the idea became something you wanted to dream into reality?
One thing I got to say is the journey of like finding out that I was living with a victim's mindset, and the actual surgery that took about a year to 2 years worth of actually happening, because there was so much of a journey. Like I took multiple programs, read lots of books, and for me, the realization of Speaker Slam kind of came up doing another level of that program. So they called it the Self-Expression Leadership Program. And in this program, I am not sponsored by this program, by the way. But what was beautiful was they just gave out the challenge: create a community project in something you're involved with. So at that time, I had dabbled in Toastmasters and stand-up, and I was looking to get my voice heard, but I just didn't know how to find it at that time, right? I was just very shy and insecure. And so with these two communities, the program said, try and build something. So at that time, I started off doing communication workshops because I wanted to be better at communicating, but I just didn't have the right tools. So I figured if I create a project, I would learn and then teach and then like figure it out, right? And so I asked a bunch of people and they all said no, except this one woman in my Toastmasters group, Rena Rovinelli. And we had become best friends already, but I was so nervous to talk to her because she had already been an established entrepreneur. She had run $1 million business. Though things had, because of the 2008 crash, she had to like pivot, and like she was working into a 9-to-5 job at that time too. So she was very open to my ideas. And one of the best things that I got out of this program was the fact that people who are willing to work with you and like match you for energy, those are amazing people. There were so many people that told me, oh, I can't do it. I have my fringe play. I have something coming up. Can we do it next month? Someone who is just like lined up. And so when me and Rena held our first event together, we did it as a debate workshop. And then we were like, we don't want 12 people in a room to be teaching something. We want to do something bigger. And so we went to another friend's speaking event and we watched her do it. And we're really impressed by it. And we're like, how can we put our own twist to it and bring something to it? And I remember I said, why don't we do a speaking competition? And then she uttered the words. She loved it. And she just said, Speaker Slam. And then literally in a month, we had everything organized. Rena is amazing with people, and she knew a community of speakers. And by our first event, we had 100 people there.
Wow. That's awesome. So, so Rena is your business partner in Speaker Slam, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And And you guys met at that workshop.
We met at a Toastmasters group actually,
Okay,
but she's done the program before in her past.
Got it. Well, that's awesome. So were there any, just to back up a little bit, I'm just curious, were there any early inspirations in your life? Like when maybe you were in your world, your reality, right? But when you looked out into the world, was there anybody that you admired or that you looked up to that, were kind of heroes? Or
there's a man called Sean Stevenson. He used to be 3 feet tall. Like he passed away, but he is such an incredible speaker. Life kind of like the way he grew up. He like, I don't know how to describe it. He just a very. He was born with I don't know, disability. He was just broken bones, and he was always in a wheelchair. And he was the life of the party. Like this guy had a mindset that was so kick-ass. I listened to all of his like audiobooks, his programs, and his attitude and mentality was all just like just so powerful. Highly recommend checking out his TEDx, The Prisoner of Your Own Mind. By far, game changing. If this guy can be happy, anybody else can be happy.
Got it. Thank you for sharing. We'll check it out for sure. I can't wait to go watch it.
Dan, I have a question for you. So when you say like Speaker Slam and stuff like that, and I know one of the big things that's coming out right now, especially with TV, is spoken word. Is there a big difference between what you do with Speaker Slam and spoken word? And the reason why I ask is if you take a look, like, I mean, I'm a huge reality TV star. I'm watching America's Got Talent. They have a gentleman right now that's basically in the finals. It's the first time that a spoken word person is in the competition, and he's an extremely powerful speaker. Has been, and I think it would honestly be a great connection for you to make with this gentleman.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between spoken word and being a speaker?
So we kind of specialize in inspirational speaking, and I think once I define that, it'll kind of give you the difference. Inspirational speaking is sharing your personal story to inspire others, and in the basic of that, it's the most authentic way to connect with people, and that is, I've seen this over and over. When me and Rena started, we were just a public speaking competition, but we saw a pattern, and the pattern was those who talked about themselves from a narrative of coming from emotions, they landed so well with the audience, and they would communicate so well that people were in the audience teared up. And there was this moment that we knew we were going to be an inspirational speaking competition. Was this woman, Chantal Dubois. It was her first time speaking, and she came up on our stage and she shared her own journey, how she got into a car accident, gained a bunch of pounds, and then like not only lost it, but became a trainer. And as she was telling her story, how she was in the most ghettoest part of downtown Toronto, she would like clean up needles and like train people in the stairwells. She literally broke out crying as she told it, but then she went on to teach her message and lesson, and it just was like people were crying in the audience, but yet so inspired by her. And that's the power of inspirational speaking, when you can connect with someone vulnerably, emotionally. That is inspirational speaking, and spoken word can have that same impact. It's just two modules of like how to express emotions, but inspirational speaking is a lot more easier. Anyone can really do it as long as they want to be vulnerable.
Was there a time when it was like your first opportunity to speak, like your first official speaking engagement?
So for me, it's interesting. I was doing stand-up and I was doing Toastmasters, but that was the level of where I was at in my life. And when I did Speaker Slam, I had never been on a stage where in front of 100 people. But like, because I was so like just taken, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I was caught up in the excitement and I started hosting the show, and that's where I first got my taste at public speaking. And my first show wasn't that great. But because we became monthly, I never knew we were going to be a monthly show until Rena told me we were going to be. And I was like, okay. I got better and better. And even though I was at the forefront of this competition, and letting people be inspirational, I didn't share my story until about a year ago, more publicly, in small groups and gatherings, because I still held on to the shame of it all. The idea that like I might be known for this, but like that was my shame and my fear. And as I read more Brene Brown, as I learned and I saw my speakers share more and more vulnerable stories, I was like, it's time I came out and started talking about this, because it starts with the people involved who are doing this. And a lot of people don't know this part of me, because vulnerability is hard, but as long as you can like share powerfully, and as the more I share, the more I heal, and that's why it just becomes a lot easier as you do it.
Absolutely. You mentioned Brene Brown. Are there any? I'm just curious because I'm a big reader. Are there any books that you're reading now, or books from the past that you absolutely love, or you would suggest or recommend to people?
For sure. There's so many books that I've read that like work. Which one would I want to say? There was this amazing book that I read called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and it's by Daniel Glover, I believe. Just an amazing book with like, what happens most is when you suffer from shame is like you try and compensate by doing other things to be more friendly. And in turn, what I started doing was behavior that was hurting me, really. And so that book kind of like exposes the idea of like how being just showing up as a nice person isn't like how it works. You have to have different areas. And so that book kind of changed my life for the better.
Awesome. I have to check that one out. Yeah, I read one recently. It was by Barbara Marx Hubbard, which she's got a fascinating story. She's really interesting. And it's called Conscious Evolution. And it's just, it touches on so many different aspects of being human and the human experience, but it's really beautiful. And she says in the book, in relation to humans, ourselves, and as the collective, as nature and the universe, that crisis precedes transformation. The crisis always precedes transformation. And so it's, a big part of that hero's journey, the epic, and where we come across those tests and challenges and crisis along the way. So I definitely recommend that book if anybody out there hasn't read it yet before. So, well, cool. Well, I'm curious, now that things are rolling with Speaker Slam, and you guys put out some incredible content. Like I said earlier, I mean, you've aggregated, hundreds of millions of views on the videos that you guys have put out in the many distribution channels that you guys are empowering your speakers to attain a high level of awareness, which is a big part of why you reached out for the Epic Love Show, because we share inspiring stories of love through action. So it makes sense, right, that if you have people who like our good friend Mike Shorman, who tuned in earlier, incredible human being, he's been a guest on the show, he's been one of your speakers, right? Worlds colliding. Mike is such a great example. I mean, it's limitless, his potential to share his story and how powerful it is. So where you guys are in the entrepreneurial path and process, what does that look like? What does the momentum look like over the last, let's say, 24 months?
So I've been doing Speaker Slam for about 4 years now, and 2 years ago, I was able to quit my job and go do it full time. And now this was the most scariest and riskiest thing that I've ever done. I grew up studying information technology management, and that was totally different from what this is. And people told me if I leave this career, I'm never going to be able to get back into it. And I remember just feeling like I started to hate my job, and I was like, I need to do this and just see. And my business partner was quitting at the same time. So when we jumped in together, we rented a theater space for 500 people. We put down a payment of 10 grand. We didn't know if we were going to be able to make this happen. And my God, literally the stars just aligned for us. 2 days after we quit our jobs, we got an email saying Goalcast has picked up our speech. They're going to share 2 of our speeches. And the momentum from that kind of carried over. And then people started buying tickets. And before we knew it, we had 500 people at our event. And Goalcast flew down to be judges. It was amazing. And that kickstarted, okay, we're going to go get a co-working space. And that co-working space had a theater space that we could rent. And we were like, how do we utilize it? Let's run a training program. And then we started a training program called Emerging Speakers. And that in itself, we were like, okay, we're doing this. How do we get the youth involved? So we started the Youth Speaker Slam. And we just took action and just kept doing things that basically kept the momentum going. We switched locations. We now had a capacity for 200 people a month at Lula Lounge. We upgraded our videos. We started getting more partners involved, Power Positivity, A+, Innerlight Media, and many more other brands that have been involved as well. And as we kept just doing it, the momentum just picked itself up. We were able to just legit live off our business. And I feel so grateful. I'm able to help people and give them a platform that gets them to share their story. And then it's all a cathartic feeling experience at the end of the day. And the audience is inspired by them because they get to hear stories that are sometimes so different from what what you hear on the TV and whatnot. It's raw, it's real, and it's people in a more performance-based style.
Right. And so tell us a little more about your Emergent Speakers program.
Yeah, so the Emerging Speakers program has basically become our main training program for inspirational speakers. We help speakers discover their message first, their brand, and then you tell your story. Because a lot of speakers, when they come in, they just want to share their story. But the thing is, you have to lead with the message, the universal message that carries everything. Your message is a vehicle for your story. And so when you start with that, we fine tune that, and then we go into how do we fine tune, learn to leverage your performance on stage. How can you leverage your speaking skills and the videos that accrue to get yourself on stage and get more paid speaking opportunities.
Okay, so I want to be really clear on this. So
Yeah.
Let's say somebody out there right now listening is, they've got a story to tell. Maybe they aren't super clear on what that message is, but they're really interested in doing something, and they want to enroll in your Emerging Speakers program. What would they do? Walk me through the steps.
Head on over to our website, speakerslam.ca. There's a training button. Click on that and just apply, and we'll be in contact with you. If you're someone that we can work with.
And then they fill out an application?
Yeah, they fill out an application. Most times what happens is people, so we have transitioned to an online competition. So a lot of people compete in our competitions, and then they figure out like what they need, and then they're like, I need the training program. So it can work both ways.
Okay. And then so the events themselves, the competitions, give us a rundown, paint the picture of what that looks like.
Oh, gotcha. So a traditional speaker slam on its own, we open the doors at 6. The crowds start coming in. We have little mini games that we play. We literally give out cards and people go and mingle. One of the best things about Speaker Slam is the community and how much love and support there is. So all the speakers invite their friends and family. And then, of course, the people who resonate with Speaker Slam show up. There's all love and hugging happening. And then at 7, we start off the show with a bang. We have a nice opening intro song, and then we come in hyped up, get the crowd very energized. And then we go right into the speeches, because we know the speeches, when they're said powerfully, it can just silence the room. And people start off doing their speech. First 5 people, we take a 5-minute break. Next 5 people. And then we started incorporating something called Passion Speech Share. This was a chance for the audience members to jump up on stage and share. And a lot of people who are afraid of speaking, we would get them on stage and they would speak for the first time. And it was remarkable, because then they would go on to compete, and some of them even won, and they caught the bug of speaking through us. And we've actually had people who spoke first time on our stage and now are professional speakers. They have books, they have paid speaking opportunities, they have a speaking website. Like, they've turned their entire lives into the path of speaking.
And is it primarily you and your partner that is doing the coaching and teaching the programs, or do you have other speakers that are teaching the programs as well?
Predominantly right now it's me and my business partner, and we've been running it together. Like, we run every part of the business, and we hope to eventually, bring in a team that like can manage it all for us. We're setting up the plans for that.
Okay, awesome. There's a question by one of the audience members from Danny Diaz. She says, there is no difference energetically between the shame one develops as a victim or a perpetrator. What healing words would you gift someone that suffers shame over pain that they may have inflicted? That's a good question.
Wow, that is a good question.
You put the coin on us.
I think.
What words would you gift someone that suffers shame over the pain that they have inflicted?
Shame can only exist in our darkest minds. Like, once we talk about it, whether it's through therapist or people you trust, I think that's how you're going to be able to release it. And the only way to release something you've inflicted is taking responsibility. And that might mean reaching out to the person that like you may have hurt and be able to talk to them, or at least talk to someone that like you can air it out and get a different perspective.
I think that's really, really good, solid advice for sure, and feedback. And thank you, Danny, for asking that question. Go ahead.
All right. Question: Is this mostly done in just Canada, or have you actually brought this down to the States?
So right now it's all in Canada.
Okay.
We have, through the magic of COVID, we have become an online competition, making us globally accessible at this point. And the way we're running our events now is it's a hybrid event. So let me just. So when a speaker wins our stage out of the 10 speakers, the judges, they have the prizes that they've donated. And this speaker now qualifies for the Grand Slam. And the Grand Slam is our big event where all the winners from the year come back to compete for the title of Inspirational Speaker of the Year. And there's a huge prize package that usually goes out. There's like a viral video. cash prize of $2,000. There is prize, like we had judges from the National Speaking Bureau, and you get one-on-one coaching experience with her. So we've been able to like really cultivate a huge lineup of speakers, professional speakers and judges that like come in to support the event. And so right now we're going to do a hybrid event where it's going to be in person, but some people who were like, let's say they won in Jerusalem, which was a case from our online competition, she will appear on the screen to perform.
I asked just because, I mean, I've been on the show before actually as a guest because I do have my own story.
Yeah.
But I have never been involved in entrepreneurship or anything like that. But just hearing this, I would like be so interested in talking to you about bringing this to the United States.
Oh my God, I would love to.
I mean, I'm a theater critic. I have tons of contacts in the theater community, and would like honestly, I'm like I'm normally not like this. I'm like so inspired.
Thank you, thank you, man.
So I would love to talk to you after this.
Yes, let's talk. My vision is, ultimately my big vision before COVID came in was like there would be a speaker slam in every city, major city, and like we would bring it down. So then eventually there's a winner from Chicago, there's a winner from like New York, a winner from Toronto, and they would all come back NBA style, and then
really.
The All-Stars, go global, baby. Yeah, that was actually gonna be my next question. You know, kind of what the big picture vision is, what that looks like over the next few years, and how that's gonna come together. So, in your vision of that specific thing coming together, what do you think needs to happen for that to occur?
Right now, our brand needs to be recognized globally, and the more people that take on our online competitions and become a part of that experience, that would allow people to gain awareness globally of what we're doing, more partnerships, media opportunities. Basically, if our speakers are successful, we're successful. And Mike Shorman is paving the way right now. We've had other speakers that have paved the way, but Mike Shorman right now, he's coming out with a book, and I'm really excited for him because what he's doing is wonderful, and he's really setting the stage for other speakers to follow and how they've leveraged Speaker Slam. And for us, as more of our brand gets known, more of these opportunities can come up, and we can start licensing. We can start opening up the way of how to like really spread this gung ho. And hopefully, when events are back to normal, this can become an in-person experience once again.
Yeah, and I can see that growth from an entrepreneurial perspective. You can really see the growth happening because it's really, you're a media company at the end of the day. I mean, yes, you have these platforms, but you're consciously creating content, and that's what media companies do. Some may consciously more than others unconsciously, but nonetheless, you know, you're growing as a media company, and so the greater the awareness and the greater the content and the more compelling the content, you know, the bigger the audience grows and the commercial value of the platform becomes, which is really interesting. Isn't it interesting that COVID has, in some forms, put the pressure on your business to potentially expand faster and greater in its own conscious evolution?
Oh, yeah. Rita and I had talked about doing an online competition for a long time, but we didn't think people would get on board. Like, the idea of an in-person event just made more sense at that time. But like, because of this, we had to innovate, and more people were willing to be like into it. And the online competition has gone off with a success. We've been doing it we've had about 3 or 4 already. We've had over 250 speakers involved during that duration. And globally, we've had people from Britain, Ghana, Jerusalem, like people we would have never known have competed and shared their stories of vulnerability. And that's insane. Like, I would have never even thought that was possible at this stage. And because we're having them already share now, in a year from now, as we'll continue to do the online competitions, this is going to keep growing. So I'm really excited for that.
Absolutely. Well, we're super excited to be a platform and channel that can help promote your speakers and their stories and what you're doing. Sharing is caring is one of our philosophies that we really believe in, and also being all inclusive is one of our number one core values. And so, Epic Love will be just another channel of energy so you guys can pump all that good energy and light out into the world. We've got about 5 minutes left here on the show. So I'm curious if you could sum up your life philosophy in one sentence.
Wow.
If you could sum up your life philosophy in one sentence, what would it be?
This line was always from a quote that I heard from a rap song, and it was a Loop Fiasco song. It was, if you don't become an actor, you'll never be a factor. And the way I interpreted that was, if you don't take action, you'll never be anything. And so always keep taking action. You might have ideas, but as long as you keep taking action towards those ideas, you're going to make things happen. And to me, that has been one of the biggest pillars of my life, of just taking action.
Awesome. I love that. And so, as we land the plane on the show, are there any final messages, final shout outs, announcements, or thank yous out there into the universe that you want to put out?
Yeah. I want to, one of the biggest things with Speaker Slam is people who are survivors, people who are going through something tragic, and they might see only darkness at this time. I want to say you can turn things around, and you can, whether it's our platform, whether anything else, go out and take the power back, because when you take power back in your story and take responsibility, amazing things happen. For the first 25 years of my life, I've lived like a victim. And once I took the power back in my life, amazing things happened for me. And I was able to turn my story, which I'm so grateful for, because if I never went through that, I would have never had this. So whatever you're going through, discover the power that comes with it and own it and go down a different path.
Beautiful and inspiring, and so well said. I love it. I love the clarity and the energy and the vision and the support and the gratitude and the love and the light. I love all of that energy you bring. Every time I talk to you, I feel like this. I get like, and you know what I think it is? I truly think that I'm gonna get a bit metaphysical here. I like that style. I really believe that you're channeling so much energy from all of these people, right? In kind of the fabric of reality, that it's coming, you're getting to, allow that to flow through you as a vehicle for change. Like you mentioned earlier, being a vehicle, I think is so powerful. And that's what I love about this show. Like every week on Wednesdays, I'm like, man, I'm going to get supercharged because somebody's going to come on and blast me with good energy, and I'm fortunate enough to allow that to pass through. And I really do think, the key to owning your power is to realize it was never yours to own in the first place.
Ooh. Because
our energy comes from another place. And it's like, if you eat a banana, right? Like that energy wasn't, you can say it's yours, but isn't it interesting that, you're like a neural activator, you're like a tower that's beaming all this beautiful energy into the world. And I just got to say, I'm super proud of you, and I am honored to know you. And I can feel what you do in my heart and how much it's a blessing for the world. And I really you're a rocket, man. You are a rocket. And I'm so excited that you've shared your fuel with us.
Thank you so much, man. Travis, I really appreciate it. Honestly, I don't share my personal story like this, and you really gave me a platform to share. So I appreciate it.
Right back at you, brother. Well, thank you very much. And if anybody wants to reach out, make sure they check out Speaker Slam on Instagram or the website. Thank you again, Dan, and I'll look forward to the next time we have you on. I'm Travis Suit, and if you've been tuned in to the Epic Love Show here, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't already, please subscribe on YouTube and share this. If you think this was an awesome story, which it was, and it was inspiring, share it with the world. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. That's the least we can do, but it's also the most we can do, which is share your energy, share your love. Join me next week. We got special guest Heather Martin of Rise Up Kids International, super powerhouse, beautiful, feminine, divine energy coming into the world, doing amazing things. Super excited to have her on. So until next week, until I get to see you again, please keep promoting the positive. Bring your highest vibrational medicine and light and love and energy to the world, and bring your epic love, because you got it.